Well, thanks guys. We are at the BMW Motorworks Classic Center at the heart of Munich to take a look at some of the best cars in history. We've convinced them to let us inside and look at some of the cars stored in their BMW History Museum.
This is the site of the original BMW factory, now dedicated to keeping history alive. The first land vehicle BMW built for the public had two wheels.
In a corner of the BMW Classic, I've found two motorcycles that are extremely important to BMW history and the history of what BMW has become. There is the Victoria K1, which uses a BMW engine in it. But the very first BMW engine used in a BMW vehicle, which is this, the R32. Now this vehicle is the predecessor to vehicles that were used from BMW to actually form a vehicle. This is the R32, and we now see an R18, a BMW engine, and a BMW motorcycle. BMW now produces motorcycles a lot, but this was the very first BMW that actually started to sell in Germany, and now the predecessor to all BMW cars.
The recently released BMW R18 motorcycle is a throwback to nearly 100 years of two-wheeled history.
Now we found this in the museum. It's in a Seta 250 Export, and it has a single door here at the front which you can use to get into the vehicle. But in Germany, one door is not enough. They need two doors to make a vehicle legal. So they had to put a canvas sunroof on top of the vehicle to make it actually legal to have two entrance and exits from the vehicle. Now there's also another vehicle here that you might recognize. It's Mr. Bean's Mini. If you've ever watched an episode of Mr. Bean, this will be instantly recognizable. It's actually been signed by Rowan Atkinson. And on top of the vehicle is the armchair, so famously sat on by Mr. Bean in a number of episodes of the show. Inside, packed with Christmas presents from the Christmas episode. And there's a lot of vehicles that sit on top of the second shelf here at the museum that I want to show you that have some special uses and some special history in the museum.
BMW played a part in American rock and roll history.
Nothing gets me more excited than hand-built cars, and this is one of them. It's the 507. Actually, Elvis owned one of these when he served as a GI here in Germany. This car was hand-built, and the interesting thing is not one 507 is the same as the next 507. Because they were all hand-built, the actual physical portion of this car was actually beaten into the shape of the vehicle with hammers. So every single one has a slightly different shape from the next one. And this one here in Germany doesn't look like any other 507 because they're all differently shaped.
Then there's the darn right bazaar at the museum.
On this top shelf is a vehicle that was never actually put into production, the Malibu Beach Rescue. The idea was to have a BMW motorcycle and a BMW Skidoo. If you wanted to rescue somebody out of the water, you could actually use this vehicle to go along the beach and then detach it and use the Skidoo to go out into the water to actually rescue the person. So even though it was a vehicle that was possible to use for a rescue, it was never actually put into production. But the idea of the vehicle was very clever, even though BMW actually never produced it. This is the Z1, and it's a car that did come to the United States but wasn't super popular. And one of the reasons it wasn't super popular, because you can see the door rolls all the way down into the body. The trouble is that it was illegal to drive on the road with the door down, so Americans didn't like it. Even though you can drive a Jeep on the road today in America without the doors on, you couldn't drive the Z1 with the doors down.
BMW had an electric 1602 Elektroantrieb taking part in the 1972 Olympics, but some of the more recent electric concepts are at the museum.
Long before BMW actually made the i3 as their electric vehicle, they had a concept. Now this concept up here, the E1, was actually their 1991 electric concept that never got produced, but it looked very interesting. It looked much like an electric vehicle and gave a platform for BMW to start thinking about a sustainable future. Now, fast forward many years into 2021, BMW are actually making electric vehicles much like this vehicle, but with a much more advanced electric idea of what this vehicle helped BMW do, and now it sits on their concept shelf in the BMW Classic Museum.
These vehicles paved the way for things like the electric Mini on sale right now and the brand new BMW i4 and iX, which I'm going to be driving very soon.
I'm Nick Miles.